Welcome back to the channel. Greg Allen F1, coming to you with my power rankings way later than I normally would, but I did want to make sure I got these out before the Spanish Grand Prix takes place tomorrow. By the time I film this, we are through all three FPs and through qualifying. They will not take any precedent when it comes to my power rankings. This is based off of the Portuguese Grand Prix. One of those weeks where I just didn't have enough time to get a video out. That happens sometimes as an engineer, where you just work way too late every single night. But I will always make sure I get these out before the next Grand Prix. As a result, a little bit of a quicker video today. I'm just going to go through this very fast and then come to you tomorrow with my race review, as always. So underneath my cut line, Esteban Ocon, who I thought Alpine had a much better race last week, and Lance Stroll, and it has to be said, Aston Martin Racing's going the wrong way for me. Stroll's been pretty good, but he does drop out of my power rankings. Him and Vettel need to start turning it around. Has nothing to do with my power ranking ratings, but it has to be said that both of them missed out on Q3 today, so not a great look for the Aston Martin. I probably wouldn't even have had him on my cut line had I taken into account today's results, which I did not. Number 10, Pierre Gasly. AlphaTauri I thought was going to be faster than they are. They're just not really putting the results there quite yet for me, and they're kind of trending. They're getting a little stagnant for me. They're not really moving up as quickly as I thought they would, so that's definitely a little bit unfortunate. Pierre has the capability. He's showing the pace at times. I think that car is better than it is. We just haven't seen results yet, so 10th place for me. Daniel Ricciardo, it's going to be up and down, I think, for the first couple of Grand Prix that we get through. I think we're going to have to be about 10 races in before Ricciardo feels so super comfortable in the McLaren. He's had some really good weeks. He's out-qualified, not taking today into account again. He had out-qualified Norris 2 out of 3 times, so some good pace there. He's had some good races, manages to finish in the points, but the Portuguese Grand Prix wasn't great for him. He has trouble in qualifying, and that results in him barely being able to get to that top 10 in points. Drops down, looks like 4 spots from where I had him last week. So Ricciardo for me, he's getting there. Not as quickly as I would like as a McLaren fan. I have no worries about him and his capabilities, though. But for now, back down to 9th. And I think in these early Grand Prix, I'm still trying to figure out where to place everybody. I think some drivers, you're going to see a little bit more volatile movement in my rankings until we're about, I'd say, 6-7 Grand Prix in. Fernando Alonso, had him on my cut line last week. He makes it up there. Again, Alpine overall, I thought did really, really well. And I just think Fernando's been looking good in that car, even on the weeks they haven't looked fast. And I suspect he's going to kind of be in these last 5 spots pretty frequently from what I'm seeing out of him. And I think Esteban Ocon, just like last year, is going to find his way up there too. So good stuff from Fernando Alonso. I can't wait to see what he does in Spain. Again, if you watched qualifying, both Alpines looked pretty good again today. But again, that has no effect on where I have him for this ranking. In 7th place, dropping 1 spot, is Carlos Sainz. So Sainz, I think, has adjusted to the Ferrari really, really well. Again, it's hard not to talk about what happened today. Ferrari looks pretty solid. They keep getting faster every single week, and I expect some good runs from Carlos. Portuguese Grand Prix doesn't go 100% the way I think he would have liked, though. He faded quick towards the end, and didn't have the result that his teammate did, so I do drop him 1 spot. But I really like what I've seen from him overall with, only really like a month and a half, 2 months in that seat. Really impressive stuff out of Carlos, so looking forward to see what he does as he gets more and more comfortable with that Ferrari moving forward. 6th place, moving up quite a few spots, Valtteri Bottas. So Bottas, for me, he's taking himself out of the conversation for the Drivers' Championship already, unless he rattles off a couple wins, which he could do. He's in a Mercedes, so it's definitely possible. But it really seems like this year he's just second seat to Lewis Hamilton, and is just nowhere near it. I think he's just going to be destined for a 3rd place qualifier, a 3rd place finisher almost every week at this point. I haven't seen that killer instinct that you see from Verstappen and Hamilton this year. Bottas started off last year with a win and looked really, really ready to bring the fight. It hasn't looked that way to me yet. So I move him up because he has a good solid Grand Prix in the Portuguese Grand Prix. But he really should be in the top 3 in power rankings, and it's going to take a couple wins for me to put him up there, because this really could be his last chance at a championship, and I wanted to see more from Valtteri. 5th place, I moved him up a lot. So Checo I had a little bit further down after he had a really crazy Grand Prix, was it 3 weeks ago now? makes it a solid, good fourth place finish for Red Bull here. That's what Red Bull wants to see out of Checo. And, tire strategy, he was on a different strategy late, and you had that funny moment where Lewis Hamilton wanted blue flags thrown at him because he thought that Checo might have been a lap down, and that wasn't the case. Checo was leading the race. But fourth place brings home a lot of good points. I'm looking for more from Checo. I think it's going to take 10 races, though. I think that's what we're seeing. The Red Bull car is really, really hard to drive if your name's not Max Verstappen. Checo is an incredibly capable driver, and he's struggling in that car. We saw that again today in qualifying. Again, it doesn't affect my power rankings at all, but he spins out in Q3 and doesn't really get a chance to get himself above 8th today if you're watching this video. And he's got his work cut out for him on Sunday again. Checo does pretty well on Sundays, so I fully suspected him to get up into that top 5 for the Spanish Grand Prix tomorrow. But in Portugal, he does what he needs to do to give him the points and be somewhat of support. I don't know how much of strategy he really helped, maybe a little bit, but you kind of want to see him a little bit quicker. I think it's just going to take time with Checo, but solid performance, 5th place. 4th place, Ferrari and Leclerc, who I think is looking just fantastic. If Ferrari can continue to improve, like I was talking about with Carlos there, they're in the conversation. So again, referencing today's qualifying, they were in the top 6 for most of the qualifying. They looked really, really good, and I'm kind of impressed. I didn't think Ferrari was going to make up as much ground this year as they had, and Leclerc just keeps putting up really, really good top 6, top 5 performances. He's going to be on the podium probably a couple times this year, assuming that there is some drama at the front of the field. We saw that happen a bunch last year, and I think there's enough Grand Prix where at some point something's going to happen to one of the Mercedes or one of the Red Bulls, and I think Ferrari and McLaren are the two that are going to always be there to kind of hit those podium spots when that happens. So I suspect him to at least match his 2 podiums from last year, probably get to like maybe 3 or 4 in my guess. 3rd place, Lando Norris. Norris has been fantastic this year. A little concerning with some of the broadcasts talking about how Norris seems a little less enthusiastic about his start, which I don't know why that would be the case. I think he started as strong or stronger than last year. He looks better. Every time we're looking at him in qualifying, he seems to go top of the charts at least once during the 3 sessions of qualifying. And he's keeping his car up there in every single race. I've loved what I've seen from that. You just have to wonder if we're going to have a bad middle part of the year again. And they were talking about that during Formula Practice on Friday, that Norris seemed to maybe know something that we don't know about where McLaren might have some issues coming up in the next few weeks. Who knows? Just speculation on the broadcast, but I hope that's not the case. But that would follow the trend of what we saw last year. McLaren had a blazing start to the season and then kind of petered out in the middle part and then got it together towards the end. So hopefully that doesn't happen. As a McLaren fan, I want to see them up there battling for that 3rd in constructors and maybe some podiums and putting themselves in an off-chance win. But we'll see. Either way, today I thought both McLarens did a good job in qualifying. Had no effect on where I placed, again, Ricciardo and Norris in my power rankings, but a little bit maybe more consistent qualifying than we saw a week ago and 3 weeks ago. Change at the top again. Number 2 is Max Verstappen. Number 1, Lewis Hamilton. So Verstappen made it to the top of my power rankings last week for the first time since I've been doing power rankings on this channel. But Lewis Hamilton has a flawless Portuguese Grand Prix. Kind of a boring Grand Prix at the top of the running order because Lewis Hamilton ran away with this race 1 week ago. What can you say? The guy is absolutely fantastic. Verstappen is still chasing. All that stuff that we heard in the beginning of this year, that it's the other way around, I knew that was nonsense, and then people were absolutely jumping the gun on that. Mercedes is still a team to beat. Lewis Hamilton's still a team to beat, and Verstappen is closer. And I think this is going to be a battle back and forth. But again, not any effect on my power rankings. But Lewis Hamilton qualifies on pole for Spain tomorrow. And we've seen in the Spanish Grand Prix, the driver who qualifies on pole typically runs away from it. So Verstappen's going to start next to him tomorrow. We're going to have to see something special out of Max to shove Lewis out of the way and take that lead and try to hold on to it and hopefully get some support from Checo down the line. But Max has his hands full tomorrow, and I think it'd be a tall ask. I think Hamilton's going to probably dominate and win this race again tomorrow. From everything we've seen so far this year and the history of the Spanish Grand Prix. So for me, still the top of the Formula One world is Lewis Hamilton. Verstappen, I really hope he's able to continue the battle and we go back and forth. But I have a feeling that Hamilton is starting to get into that zone where he's just going to run away with it again. So we'll see. Some changes coming to Power Rankings. I don't really want to make this video long. It's already way longer than I expected it to be. But I had a user come up with a pretty good idea of actually assigning points to the drivers that make my Power Rankings. So my end of the year overall Power Rankings can have standings. That will be debuted after this week's Grand Prix, my next Power Rankings. I will show you where each driver stands. Not going to be overly complicated. Probably just going to do 10, 9, 8, 7, 6 in points down the road. And I'll have down here in my cut line the current standings of where everyone is. So I think that's a really fun idea. So thank you for that suggestion in the comments. If you have any other suggestions, I'm always open to hearing them. If you like my channel and my content, don't forget to subscribe and give me a like. Especially the likes, it really helps with the YouTube algorithm. I've learned that the hard way the last couple weeks where I've had a couple videos just completely flop. And part of that's on me for not being consistent. But if you like my channel and you want me to keep making videos long term, it becomes a lot easier for me to do that when I see the interaction with the channel and more likes and views on it. So I really appreciate all of you for doing that. And I'll catch you in tomorrow's video after the Spanish Grand Prix. Enjoy the race, enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you then.